everybody, and welcome to this episode of the I Rock Knits podcast. My name is Corey Eichelberger, and today I have with me my dear friend from my knitting group, Mary Yazbek, who is also a teacher. She changed jobs this year and became a high school teacher. She was a middle school teacher. God bless middle school teachers. I did that for 1 year, and it almost killed me. So no middle school for me. But I am currently going to be having my shoulder replacement surgery, and so I have asked some friends to come on the podcast prior to the surgery and talk about their 3 to 5 favorite knits of all time. And I'm going to pre-record these and then put them up while I am recovering from my shoulder surgery. So thanks so much, because Mary had to come after school today. She's already taught all day, and I just been home, went to the dog park, finally showered, and so I asked her, and she had to gather up her favorite knits and bring them over. So we want to thank everybody that's going to be coming. I have 2 scheduled and 2 more to get on the schedule here in the next couple weeks, but hopefully this will be kind of fun for everybody. So welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to that. You know, it's kind of funny. This year, 2023, marks 20 years since I started knitting. I started to knit in 2003. So it's been 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So when did I meet you? When did you start knitting in our group, in the group? When were...
that's how I learned is way back when when we had the paper and in our locals. I live in Chanhassen, and the Chanhassen paper had, if you're interested in knitting, the first Thursday of the month, you can go to the fire station, or actually it was the library at the time. So me and my friend Julie, we hiked it over there, and I remember, and you know, Janet goes, "What are you guys working on?" And we said, "We're just coming here to learn to knit." And I took off with it. I really enjoyed it. And my friend, it wasn't intuitive for her.
Yeah.
So she doesn't knit any longer.
Okay.
She wanted to.
But then the library went to the firehouse.
Yes. Because
and that would have been when I moved here, because then I sent out random letters to everyone, and Judy Berlin got back to me and said that they met on Thursdays at Byerly's, and I met, and she and Liz had set up the group. But then we were also doing, was it Monday nights at the fire station?
Yeah, it changed around just depending on when, because there was some relative that was a firefighter, and they would let us have their common room. But then there was some TV show on Thursday nights they wanted to watch there, and we were infringing on it. So we probably went, and then we went also to the Legion.
Yeah. Then we went to the Legion, and then we went to Byerly's. Or no.
Then at night it's at Byerly's now in the food court.
Oh, yeah. Thursday, once, and that was more once a month. Those were always once a month. Now, so when did you start coming to the daytime?
I started to come to the daytime probably when my kids were a little bit older, because my youngest was born in 2000. So probably like 2004, 5-ish maybe. I would bring her with me. But I think in the summer it was hard for me to go.
Was it at Byerly's during the day then?
Yes, it was at Byerly's when they had the restaurant.
Okay, yep. Okay, so then I came in 2005 or 6. One of those, to the group. So we've known each other a long time.
15 years for sure.
Yeah, because you weren't teaching then.
Nope.
No, you hadn't gone back and started teaching then, because you were raising the kids.
Yeah, I was raising the kids, and then I started full-time teaching in 2009.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mary isn't always able to come to the Thursday knitting group that we knit in, which is a large group if everyone shows up. There are a lot of people on the list, like 21 knitters, but it's usually about 10. Yeah. I mean, roughly. It can be smaller, but...
It is a good way to get together and learn about different things. We help each other out. We look and see what projects are going, what yarn we like, what yarn we don't like. And it's also very social, I think. Because then we also make plans to go to like Yarn Over through our Knitters Guild and different things like that. We go to new yarn shops together.
And we always eat. We've never not... been somewhere where we don't eat.
Like meet at 3 o'clock and then...
Yeah. We don't ever knit from 2 to 4. It's always been at this 11 to 1 Thursday. But
we've stayed a long time. I remember one time we stayed for 4 hours.
Yes, we used to sit at Perkins.
We would go 2 days a week on Thursday and Friday. Or Tuesday and Thursdays.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, yeah, we know each other really well.
Okay, she brought a bunch of stuff to show us today, and I'm really excited because most of them are not duplicates of anything I've ever talked about before, so that's kind of cool. So tell me about one of your favorite sweaters of all time.
I finished this one in 2009. It's called the February Lady Sweater, and I wrote this down. Pamela Wynne made adjustments for it to be like a lady sweater versus a baby sweater, because Elizabeth Zimmerman did it in her 12 months of knitting. I think it was February, for a little girl.
Yeah.
And so it has the gull stitch on it.
Yep.
You start up here with just garter, and then you move down here to the gull stitch. And you can kind of see it's a little bit felted because I've worn it so much. It kind of was like a blazer top to me when I still wear it to school a lot with a black t-shirt underneath it and black pants. I like it because it's versatile. I like the 3/4 sleeves because my t-shirt can hang out below that. And I really love the vintage buttons that I found.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of shows my personality. It's easy to wear. I've knit this pattern 2 other times, and I've used different yarns for that. This is actually Cascade 220. I've used that again in a different colorway, and then I've also used Malabrigo Rios.
So I knit this one twice as well. The first one I knit was in almost an Aran weight yarn, so it's orange. You'll remember it had big buttons like Mary's does. It's very chunky. And then the second one I knit, I think I also used Cascade. Yeah. And I did one that was purple and gold and maroon and gold all at once, so that I could wear it to all the team sports. But it is a great fitting sweater and a good first sweater to learn a raglan. Like if you've never done a raglan, because you can do those yarn over increases and they're so visible.
Yes.
Like you can really know where they line up.
And you can kind of see, and they kind of ask you too, like where it falls on you. Sometimes you might add just to have it placed right in the bust.
Yeah.
Which is very easy. And one thing I would do in order to really move along with this, I made a commitment to myself when I knit it that I'm going to go through 4 repeats of the lace pattern. So if I do that and I just make a commitment to that, I can really get through the lace portion. I usually find the garter stitch up here more tedious. I feel like you feel like you're not getting anywhere, but once you get here, it goes really fast. And if you can see, you probably could get this done in 2 days. Yeah. Like Sleeve Island isn't as big as other sweaters that you have.
Yeah, because they are shorter.
So
and they are cool. They are a fuller sleeve too. They're not. They don't come in like at the elbow wrist area. They're not a bell, but there's not shaping involved and so that's nice. Yes. For a sweater too, because that lace would be hard to. I mean, you could do the degreases, but you'd have to keep the yarn overs out of the way. Yeah,
I wore it a lot. I mean, I still continue to wear it. It's a little bit smaller for me as I've gone through the years. I put on some weight, but I still wear it. I would say probably once a month. I wear it to school, and even students compliment me on it. And I told them that I make it, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe it!"
Just like a middle school or high school girls.
Yeah,
rolling their eyes. Yeah. Okay, sweater number 2 is another favorite of mine. So, Mary, tell us about this one.
And I got that from you. You knit a whole bunch of them for Christmas time one time.
I did.
Okay, but not for me.
No, I didn't knit one for you. Sisters-in-law, mom, niece, Renee, because I was walking at the dog park then a lot every day with Renee and Karen. And so I knit them each one too, because we were meeting almost daily.
Awesome. Yeah, I was.
But totally I do love this sweater. No, I know.
Yeah. I love this sweater because it's fun to knit. I like that below there's like it's a hem, so it's not really. There is a little bit of ribbing, but you fold that over and it's a hem, and I think it lays very nice.
Yep.
And I like that it's worsted weight, so it goes around quite quickly. I chose to use Stonehedge Fiber Mills Shepherd's Wool.
But this is kind of a...
It's kind of a marled.
Yeah.
And what I thought, as a teacher, everybody wears like silly sweaters in December. And I thought, I'm going to make a really I'm going to knit a sweater that's kind of like a crazy Christmas sweater. But not with intarsia, not with different things. And I thought I'll do this Hiro. And I always like a pale blue with red. I've seen that on Christmas stockings, and I really like that color combination. So this is marled. It kind of had like a peach with a red, which I thought would be kind of crazy. And that's just your ivory with some pink and then the color up here. And I put the yarns together, I knew I wanted a big contrast with the body, so that's why I went with the ivory there, and then it kind of blended. I wanted the blue up by my face.
That's the one thing that I tell people about this sweater is it doesn't matter what yarns you choose because they blend. Like it blends in, and I had a couple that I thought were kind of off-putting colors, and they turned out
great.
Yeah, really pretty.
It's
so I agree.
Magic.
It is because it's that little pixelated part, that just kind of everything blends in there.
And I think as a color work yoke, I think this is good for a beginner too because it's
no
not
floats.
No floats. Yeah.
And you don't have to count odd numbers of stitches. Like once you start the repeat, it's the same all the way around.
Yeah,
like
I
it's
thought
not
it was very
3,
intuitive.
5, 7, 2, 6, 4, 3, 5. It's not like that. It's very repetitive. And then on some of the ones that I made, I didn't do the color on the sleeve. I just made them plain because I was knitting so many of them. But I really like the color on the sleeve. I think that is well worth the extra effort.
And it's only one color. Sometimes in sleeves, when they have the pattern with a lot of colors, I think it gets heavy. I'm 5'4", so I'm kind of on the short side. So I don't like to have a lot there because I think it makes me look shorter. So this isn't that much. I didn't mind having the contrast there.
And this is you knit this bottom up or top down?
Bottom up.
It is a bottom up sweater, which a lot of people haven't done before that I talked to on, most people now are doing.
It's together. It's not seamed on the side.
Yeah.
So,
You go to here, then you put the sleeves, you make the sleeves. So the hard part's all done. That's what I found. When you join everything, then you get to do the yoke. It's off the needles.
And it gets smaller, and it's kind of fun to see it to come together and to have it come off. I really like this.
Okay, we're back with sweater number 3, and I have never knit this sweater, but I own yarn like this. So tell us about it.
Okay, so this is the Weekender by Andrea Mowry. If you guys ever see it, a lot. There's like one for, this is the worsted weight pattern. There's a pattern for it in fingering, and now this is a boat neck. But they came out with a circle neck, I think, just this year.
Yeah, crew. Yeah, I just saw that.
So it's really fun to make. It's kind of like a reverse stockinette where you kind of do it inside out so that you knit on the other side and then you come out on the back and it's kind of looks like it's garter stitch in the front. This is my second Weekender that I've knit.
Oh, okay.
And the first one I knit in Rios and it was really great. But I always like the different yarns. This is Jill Draper makes stuff. It's called Rockwell. It's yarn that comes from the United States and it's marled together. So there's a dark green with a lighter green. This colorway is called Leaf.
Okay.
So a lot of times when I wear it, I'll put a denim shirt underneath it, nice contrast. I've worn it around like outside. We had a really terrible April here this year and I would wear it and people would people that aren't like on the street would compliment me and say that's a beautiful sweater. And I think a lot of it has to do with the yarn.
Yeah, it has highs and lows in it. Because mine is the lime green and I don't know if it's lime green with dark green or if it's lime green with black. It's it's that dark of a green. So mine feels really speckled, like very high and low.
Big contrast.
Yeah, but it is a rustic yarn.
Yes.
It's far more rustic than like the Rios.
And it's an investment.
Yeah, and I would think that this would have worn better.
Yes,
I think it'll wear over time, right? Because Rios is one of my favorite yarns. But
yes.
God, that stuff can just really pill and it stretches out a little bit and
it loses its drape. I do love to knit with it because the colors are amazing.
I know.
But I wanted something more and I wanted something warmer to kind of wear in the shoulder seasons to kind of keep me warm at different times. My husband, his favorite sweater of all time was this color. And when I was knitting it, he never asked for a sweater, but he goes, I really like that yarn. So I might have to get him maybe a different colorway similar to that, but he really liked the look of it. Very rustic, very warm, but also very wearable.
Yeah, because it's very breathable for sure.
Yep, and it repels the water because I've gone out in the rain in it too, and it's has a little bit of that lanolin in it still.
So some of you will remember, or you might think Jill Draper makes stuff. Where have I heard that before? She's out in New York, Kingston, New York, where she has a dye studio, and during Rhinebeck, she often has an open house on Saturday night. And that's where I purchased my yarn. But then I used her yarn in the Knitwords book for the tote bag because I had a bunch of colors. So I ordered some more colors and it's not the Rockwell, it's not the speckly stuff, but I really like working with her yarn.
I really love it. I also have the Empire, which is her huge,
giant skein.
It's like a yarn baby. And you like it because it's all, if you can wind it up, because it's hard to get it into a cake, you wouldn't have to weave it in any ends.
Yeah, I had a skein of that too, but I sold it because when it came, I wanted orange, and it was
muted.
Very. And I was, and it, you know, it's a monitor thing. It wasn't a problem. I put it in my Ravelry, and someone picked it up right away because it was more of an orange that more people would like, right? Like,
versus
that,
like orange.
Yeah, than this, right? It was just very, not peach, but yeah. And I just thought, oh, I'm not going to use it before I use some of my other stuff. So, and
but
it was
if you're looking for something like that, I mean, a lot of times if you see her on social media, you could follow her. She'll let you know when that's coming into the her store or online store. And beautiful, beautiful colors. Some of them are variegated. A lot of them are tonal, similar to this, which I think would be a great way to make a weekender through the Empire. Too.
I have a whole sweater of hers on the needles. It's right here.
I've been really enjoying Rambouillet.
This got put in timeout because I don't like what's happening with the raglan increases. They should be brown lines, and they're not. They're kind of. I'm just debating on whether to rip it back to fix the raglan. I mean, I did it according to the pattern, but they don't look, they just don't look nice. You see that? Like
could you
duplicate stitch over crochet.
Could you wash it and see?
Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
So this is Jill Draper Makes Stuff Mohunk, Cormo. So it's Cormo, not Rambouillet, which they're kind of similar. Mm-hmm. And that comes in 370 yards to 113 grams.
And this is DK?
So no, 317 would be more like sport.
Sport, okay.
Yeah, it'd be more like a sport weight.
Very pretty.
Roughly, yeah. And the finished sweater is gorgeous. Will it matter? Will those raglans here, I'll try to show you guys, just because, will those raglans matter? See how it's just not, like the line doesn't, the brown doesn't show up. Like they should probably be 2 stitches wide instead of 1, right? Because when I pull it apart, it's okay, but then in some places there's another brown on the edge.
I would wet block it and just see, because this might just really bloom.
Yeah, and then it would look lovely.
Yeah.
And so I put
you don't want to tear all that out.
Yeah, because it's all, the entire thing is all the backside's prettier than the front. So it's been in a bag for probably 4 years because it's one of those situations where I don't want to make the decision about whether
what I'm going to do. I really like the yarn that comes from there. I like her business plan. I like the way that she uses, sheep that it's all grown here in the United States. It's processed here. I feel really good about that. I think it's good. And not all the time. I knit with a huge variety of yarn, but I thought for this, I was really pleased with it.
A lot of times on her website, if you go, there won't be yarn available during certain times of the year because she buys a whole flock of fleece and then has it processed and then dyes it and then sells it. And then it's not available again until the next year. So you have to kind of know when you get in the throes of what she's doing. If you go in and it's not available, it's because she literally sells out of the amount that she bought.
Absolutely. So there's no inventory.
Yeah.
Because once it's gone, it's
gone. Yeah.
But then I know the way I knew about her inventory being in there is through social media. Yeah. This is my last sweater that I'm going to show today. This is the Ramona Cardigan. And the Ramona Cardigan, it was by Elizabeth Smith. And what I did is, this is called Cardo. And it's a yarn by Manos del Uruguay. So it is made, I like the story behind it. It's made by women in a cooperative in Uruguay, and it really helps their lives improve by us buying the yarn from them. It is an investment, but it is wonderful to work with, and I love this color. This color is called Nymph. And I used 9 skeins of it to make it. And it's kind of like a coat. I made it a little bit bigger because I wanted to have extra room in it. And I enjoy wearing it.
It looks great on her.
It's bulky, but it doesn't seem like it's super bulky. I mean, it was easy to knit.
Yeah. Is it Aran weight or is it bulky weight? Like, what
it's bulky. Cardo is bulky.
Okay.
Kind of like,
because it does not look bulky. Like when I'm just looking at it, like on you, like bulkies can be. Yeah. Can go anywhere from, I don't know, you can use like a size 9 needle to an 11 or 13.
This reminded me of Malabrigo Chunky.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, because it's got a nice ply, because there's really nice stitch definition.
And you can tell that it's hand-dyed because there's a little, subtle variation.
Yep.
It is quite warm, and we're here in September, so it's a little bit warm, but I really do enjoy it. I did go ahead with the vintage buttons again. Yeah. I have a place in St. Paul.
Okay, you go
I go to the Treadle.
Yeah.
And it's a sewing goods store, but I also know about other yarn stores that sell vintage buttons on cards.
Yep.
And so and a lot of times, like at Yarn Over, they have some vendors.
They do. They almost always have vendors, and they used to always have that same button vendor at Stitches Midwest, and Rhinebeck on the second floor of the barn has a huge button vendor.
But it's always hard for me. I like to have my project there so I can kind of look and see. That's how I do better with it, rather than buying buttons in advance, unless it's like a leather button that I know I'll use in a cardigan.
Yeah.
I kind of wait to have that. But I think it makes a difference for it to be there. I remember, didn't you sew, like I can use these. But sometimes you just kind of sew this together and just keep the buttons so it doesn't unravel. That's a good way to look at it. I've done that with some of my cardigans.
Yeah. And when I lived in Richmond, there was a button shop, and it was in a little house. It was a little pink house. And every room was just full of buttons. And all the knitters would take their sweaters in when they got them finished. And then the people would help you like find all the different kinds that you could maybe put on it. And that was lovely. I can't imagine how many buttons you have to sell to just have that be your business. Like you anymore.
It has to be part of it.
Yeah.
But more and more yarn stores just have basic, but not, So if you ever have the opportunity, look for some place that carries those. Because if you're going to spend all that time knitting a sweater, you want to have the right buttons to make
Does she sound just like me, right? Does she sound me just saying, buttons, 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 you guys spend the money on the buttons. That's what I mean, I drill that home. And I think that's maybe because we've also talked about it at Knitting Group.
Yeah.
Like, don't go buy a 50-cent plastic button to put on your $200, actually your $800, $1,000 with your time and energy garment that you've spent 6 months knitting on, right? Like,
because I keep my sweaters in a cedar chest, and so I was getting ready to go for this today, and when I saw this sweater in there, I'm like, thank God I spent the extra money on these buttons, because it just makes the sweater.
Yes.
So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, because you could have put plain black buttons on it.
Yeah, clear. Yeah,
and they just it wouldn't have shown like it does.
And these are oversized, and I added more just because I thought it went with the look I wanted to achieve. Yeah.
We're back with a shawl. It's so graphic in between us. Mary and I did not plan our wardrobe today. So she's doing this lovely pastel, although Mary does like color. And I have on bright orange. And now we're adding red and gray stripes to the middle of the kind of the look here today. But okay, tell us about this one.
This is an oldie but a goodie. And I get a lot of compliments on it because, first of all, this is called the Study Stripes Shawl. And you don't have to help me with the pronunciation, by Veera
Valimaki.
Veera Valimaki. And if you ever want to look at these projects that I have, my Ravelry ID is MC Mary YAZ. McMary Yaz. So I have like what size I knit, what yarn I use, what size needle.
Don't we love that?
Yeah, because it's easier. A lot of times I'll look and see like, oh, I really like this sweater that person was wearing. I look at it and I don't know what size or what needle they use. So I look at that as like my journal. It's my digital journal of my knitting, and I find it to be I get very productive, and I can remember like preparing for today. I just went on to Ravelry and looked up things. So that was awesome.
For sure.
My favorite color combination is red and gray for a shawl. I really enjoy it. The contrast is really good.
Yeah, I like red. Red was my wedding color. I mean, like I used red back in the day, and I did not have a Christmas wedding. I still wanted something vibrant and bright.
So this, I used sock yarn, and it was from Malabrigo, and I love Ravelry red from Malabrigo. It's, I think, their signature color. It's a delightful color. And I can't remember exactly what the gray was, but it went really well. So it's just a 2-color shawl, and it's called the Study Stripe, and there's different variations.
Stripe Study.
Oh, excuse me, the Stripe Study.
Yep, Stripe Study.
And I would wear it a lot. Where my kids went to high school, this was red was one of their school colors, and my daughter was a dancer, so I'd wear it to the dance events, and everybody would say, "Can you make me one?" And I'm like, "It'll cost you $500." And yeah, but I did put one in an auction, so that was really cool.
Oh,
to
you
do.
did?
Yeah, but then people, they don't know how to wear it.
No, yeah.
It's kind of a different shape.
Oh yeah, it's what do they call that? Like a check mark. It's longer.
Yeah,
on
but
my
it's easy
end.
to drape over. Sometimes I wear it as a neck, and sometimes I wear it over my shoulders with a shawl pin. But you can see how it's kind of fun to knit.
You start here, and then you increase more on this side. They're further apart on this side, and then you have some short rows, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's got a kind of a not too deep a border, but it's got a border there.
Yeah, it took me, I would say, a month to knit, and I just really like it. Like I said before, I really like the 2-color shawl, and I like the contrast of that. Highly recommend.
Yeah, because stripes are motivating to get to the next color. Yeah, I think that's very true.
And for me, my favorite for a shawl is fingering weight. I've done some DK and I've done some worsted, and I just find it to be heavy on my shoulders.
Yep.
I know you have to knit more stitches on fingering, but I wear it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yep.
For most people. So Mary and I were just talking about how we went to the January Thaw knitting retreat, and Mary said it was in January 2016.
Our kids were freshmen in college.
I can't even believe that you remember that.
I have a memory for weird things, but I can remember stuff like that. Because I remember...
Because I go, yeah, that was just like a few years ago. And then no, it's like, yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. And I think this is a pattern. It's called All Paths Lead Home. And it's by Melanie Berg. She's a German designer that is very, very world-renowned for her shawl designs.
Yes.
A lot of mosaic knitting. And mosaic knitting is not where you carry the floats. It's kind of like you knit back and forth between different colors.
Sorry.
She had a class there at that.
Okay, yes. Did she have a class at the January Thaw? She was there, is what I was going to say. Yes. And because we took pictures with her, right?
Yes.
A bunch of us took pictures.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. She came to Madison, Wisconsin, all the way from Germany for us. So that was awesome. And I love Sun Valley yarn. They're located not too far from Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, which is not too far from Madison. They actually host the event. So I encourage you, if you want to go in the end of January to a knitting retreat, maybe
she moved
November.
it. Yeah, she moved it. They don't have it in January because we did have bad weather a couple of years, really bad. It was hard to get there. So yeah, they moved it to November now.
So what I used is her merino cashmere blend in the fingering, which is delightful yarn. I used a navy, a gray, and then this berry color. And I wear it a ton at school. I wear it with navy pants. I wear it over a navy dress. I wear it with a mauve dress, like similar to this color. And it keeps my neck warm in the winter, which I really like. And I wear it with a denim jacket too. It's a beautiful, not too hard shawl pattern. A lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Because look at all that colorway here. That's very interesting.
I mean, this kind of just mostly looks like yarn over knit 2-togethers and maybe a knit stitch in between. So I don't think it would be, maybe there's something else going on in there, but.
It's just a lot of stitches on the needle near the end.
Oh.
So, but then you put markers in to make sure that you kind of know where you're going.
I really like this graphic kind of striping going on with the lace. I only have one shawl that kind of mixes stripes with lace. Oh. And when I teach my shawl class, I always mention that because that's uncommon. Like if you're knitting lace, you're not usually doing color work at the same time. Like they don't mix that. So I have one shawl that's like that. I'm trying to think of what the name of it is. It's
the compliments are very, like initially I blocked it, but I think I spilled my lunch on it over the winter. And so I just kind of put it over my, how I dry my clothes inside. I just had it hang over and it just went back to its shape. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, her yarn is lovely. Very lovely yarn. And huge colorway selection. Just massive.
Unlimited. She probably has, of the mauve, she probably has 5 different colorways. Very similar, but different. Like the greens, it's hard to choose a green.
Yes. Yeah, she has so many, for sure.
So we had 2 shawls, and now we're moving on to my favorite. This is the honey cawl. And I've made a lot of these. I've made them in a variety of different yarns, even Miss Babs Yowza. But this is my favorite of all of them. And it is with Madeline Tosh DK, and the colorway is called Plaid Blanket.
I own this colorway.
It's a great colorway. When I saw it, I said I had to have it. And I really like it. I knit the large size, and I don't go the full thing because otherwise it's too big on my neck.
Okay.
I go maybe 8 inches.
Okay.
And then bind off. But I usually wrap it around, and I wear it with like a little zip up that I have that has the school logo on it. I'll wear it. I'm a Packer fan, so I'll wear it to Packer games, different things like that. It's a very neutral color, but it has like browns and, blues, a little bit of gold.
Can you believe that Mary and I are sitting together when we have differing opinions on football?
We can still be friends.
We can still be friends. To each his own. But this is a honey cowl, but it's by Antonia Shankland. Shankland, I would guess.
I believe it's a free pattern.
Oh, really?
Yep, it's a free
and the whole thing is slip stitch, right?
Yep.
Knit one, slip one, knit one, slip one.
Yep, absolutely. Back and forth.
Yep.
So it's really meditative. I always knit this like if I go to knitting group or if I'm watching TV, it's perfect for that. And it goes by really quickly. It takes 2 skeins of DK.
I'm going to show this colorway up close. It's got green and orange and grays in it. And I had it on fingering, and the oranges really popped more, right? And then I also had it on maybe DK, or I think maybe I had it on fingering single ply, and I didn't, which I bought back in the day before I knew that I probably wouldn't, because I think I had a sweater's quantity, and I wouldn't want to knit a sweater's quantity in single ply, although I have, but I did sell it on, so I have one of them left. I sold it on Ravelry, but the oranges is really pretty in there.
It's a really pretty neutral, is what I would say.
In there.
I have a green camo sweater cardigan. I wear it with that, with a shirt underneath it. Just kind of completes the look. I like in the winter to have something on my neck. It really keeps me warm.
Yes, for sure. Here is her last look at this. Look at how pretty that is.
It is the Bray Cap by Jared Flood. And I used...
That is just beautiful.
Madeline Tosh Vintage, which is their DK weight as well. But this is called Whiskers, is the colorway. And I love the colorway just because it's kind of a chameleon. I have a pink coat that I wear when it's kind of a little bit cold. Like my husband and I were by Lake Superior this summer, and it got to be cold. I even popped this hat on. It looked really good with that pink. It would look good with black.
Because it's gray, but it's brown. Like in different lights, like, right? I could say that someone in the screen might say that looks very gray, but in real life, it looks quite tan.
Yeah,
tan. A tan, it's got brown tones.
And that's been my favorite hat. I usually always have a hat on the needles because there's always someone that wants a hat.
So 2 sizes of cables, a thick cable and like a horseshoe cable here, and then a thicker cable here. And then lace, yarn overs in between. So it would be a really good spring and fall hat. If
you added mohair with it, it'd be a good winter one.
Oh, yeah. No, that's lovely. I'm putting that on my list. I've never even seen that before. It's really pretty, Mary.
Oh, I really wear it a lot, and it fits really nice. Like my ears are covered, but it doesn't feel like it's making my head smaller. You know how some hats make me, I have a big head. All that stuff. So I really like it. I wear it often. I wore it in the winter last year too when I needed a hat. So I would recommend it.
Because I would think that keeping some of that airflow in there would also not like smush your hair, right?
Yeah.
Like completely flatten your hair down, because it would be a little more loose and open, right? Like just.
I also knit the Etta hat, ETTA, and that's kind of more of a slouch, and you can use Cascade for that. And it doesn't mess up my hair either.
Oh, okay. That's nice. I don't know. Sometimes you just get somewhere and then you're completely flat, right? Your hair is just completely flattened out. And you're
with
like,
shorter hair, it's a real problem.
Wish I wouldn't have put the hat on, right? Well, Mary and I were fortunate enough yesterday to go on the Riverboat Cruise with Darn It Anyway. And so we were out on the St. Croix River for 2 hours with a couple of our friends. So I'm going to put a picture in because Matt and Renee will be on the podcast next week. She's coming over, and Matt has been on before, so you'll start to recognize all of these faces. But we had a lovely day.
Oh, it was gorgeous day. Perfect weather.
Yeah, it was like 75. It got up to maybe 80 by the end of, we went at 12:30. We got on the boat, right?
About noon.
Noon. We came back at 2:30. Yeah. And they served us lunch, and they had a yarn shop set up, and all of the Blue Sky fibers people were there, and they had their lookbooks there, and they had all their samples.
Yep, and kits.
Yeah, knitted wit yarn. They had
Sweet Georgia
yarn. I can't. They had. Was it Manos that was that spin cycle? What was that yarn? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but it was very similar to that.
It's very similar to spin cycle.
But a different
a little heavier weight, yeah, but still very pricey.
Yes.
None of us bought any.
No.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
If it would have been less, I probably would have bought some because I really thought it was pretty.
It's very pretty. I can't remember. Oh, wish we knew. Maybe you can find out.
Yeah, I can put it.
Yeah.
I did link in the show notes Mary's Instagram and Ravelry name so that you can look her up. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out because
absolutely.
When I asked people, they all kind of look at me like, oh, really? Like, you don't want me on? And I asked Bonnie yesterday, and she was like, oh, I'm going to have to think about that. And I was like, I know it's a lot to ask, but I need some content for when I'm recovering from my surgery. Plus, I think it's really nice to not just listen to me the whole time, right? Like, I've shared all my opinions, all my projects. So to have you bring something in that I can get inspired by is super nice.
You know what? And what saves me on hats is getting a little kit of interchangeable needles with smaller tips on them. So you can, I don't have a 7/16 inch. Well, you can make one with an interchangeable kit. Really doesn't matter what kind you get. I just think that's very helpful, especially because a lot of times the ribbing is a different needle size than the body of the hat.
For sure. Because when I was in Maine, the lady from Waterville tried to sell me that exact thing, the 4-inch interchangeable set from maybe, I don't remember, Knitter's Pride or Chalgo or whatever. But it was all the sizes. It wasn't just 4 to 11 and 0 to 4. It was thing. You're right. And in the shorts, so you'd have a whole short set.
That would be ideal.
And I was like, and that's when Ross had been waiting for me for an hour. And he came in and he's like, what is going on? And then Joyce started taking him around the shop, and he was like,
he was over it.
This is not what I want to do on my vacation. So I should have bought it, but I'm going to look it up online because I could call her. I could just call her. But she took them out and showed them to me. But she said that some people can't do those 4-inch because of where it hits their hand, because the circumference is small and they push too hard with their little finger. So she had
the magic loop then? Is that what?
Yeah, she just had an employee in the shop who came over and said, I was afraid that I would break that cord at that join every time. But the other lady was like, I love mine. Like, I can take I have one package and I can do everything. It wasn't like $300 for that many needles, right? Like, if you bought those all individually, which I have done because I don't have what I need.
They're in a work in progress.
Exactly.
Or they're
in my sweater over there. Yeah. For the last 4 years, it's got needles in it.
Right, but that's the way things go. I also use them for sleeves and a sweater so that you can make time and squeeze on one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely worth the investment.
Yeah, Matt was working on a giant red sweater yesterday on
with
the cables all over it.
Beautiful.
On the boat, just like nothing, I was like, no. Well, you were working on a colorwork sweater. Tell them that you're making a...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My son Matt lives in Denver, and he's a really, really good skier. He loves to ski. He lives to ski. So for his his college graduation, I was going to make him a Dale sweater, the 125th anniversary. And my gauge was off. I got frustrated. It was on the needles since 2017. And I asked him if he wanted some things. He goes, I really just want that ski sweater. So with Corey's help too, getting my gauge on track, I'm up here, part of it, where I'm going to add the third color finally. Yeah. And I was doing that. What I found really helpful is that I got the digital pattern of the chart, and I had it on my MacBook, not a, so what I did is I drew some lines, where it ended, and then I can move it up to follow it easier. That worked best. I had really good chart holders.
Yeah.
That just worked out best for me.
Yeah.
So now I'm making progress.
Yeah. No, you've gotten. I didn't realize it was that long ago that you started it, but I remember that you had trouble, and we've all been there, right?
Yes.
Like we've all been there where the gauge is just so off. Like Renee on Thursday, I made her rip out her whole. She started the love note, and she said it was so big. And I said, well,
what's your gauge?
Yeah. What? And she said, well, I went down to needle size. And I said, well, then did you change the size you're knitting? And she's like, no. And I said, we got to do the math. I felt so bad, but she didn't like the gauge, and you can't, and we don't want to rip that
yarn. And you try different needle size. It's called a gauge tasting, or something. Like you start off with, let's say, a 3, you go up to an 8, and you find the fabric you like, and then you have your size based on that. It's something like that. I've never done it, but I think that would be, if I really had a yarn that nobody ever used, I think I would try that.
Because it's really hard to just, and it's different than when you swatch in the round, or trying to swatch in the round to make the Mama Krista in the round. And they were really struggling with their edge stitches in the round, because you're coming and it's a loosey-goosey, and they were just, and I said, to me, knitting that sweater in the round was so easy. Well, I'm way more experienced than they are, right? And so them knitting it flat and swatching flat and not having 240 stitches on the needles, if they make a mistake, they have to rip back so much further, right? Than if they only knit half of it. Was any of that processing in my head? No, because I'm more experienced, right?
Right.
So we decided, so for all of you that we're going to do the Mama Krista knit along with us, we have gone back to doing it flat, knitting it flat for them. They're going to learn how to seam. They're very excited. They think it'll be a much better situation. We talked through all of this, and I thought, you know what? As a more experienced knitter, I just thought this will be easier for me in the round. But that meant every other row I had to change the pattern, and there's some shaping. And so
I did it in the round. I did it in total pink. I should have brought that, 'cause that would have been relevant to your thing. I really like it, and I like the yarn I use. It was like a cotton, mercerized cotton. But one thing, I'm changing my mind. I always used to love a seamless sweater. I like the structure of the seams, and the mattress stitch is really intuitive.
And so the more we talked about it, I said, I'm making this more difficult for them as newer knitters, right? I mean, some of them have been knitting for 4 years, so it's not like
they're intermediate.
They're not. I just think of them as beginners because that's how I taught them, but they've got some experience now. They've knit shawls and colorwork hats, and they've tried a lot of things. And so just that whole gauge situation where somebody has to start over, right? Because the gauge was off, and I felt bad. Like their gauges were just a mess, and Renee is on Thursday. I felt bad about that too, right? Like that she was
but
just
before
like,
you get too far.
You're much better off starting over and getting something that's going to fit.
Otherwise, it'll sit in a bag waiting for you to have the mental energy or the to finish it.
Or the time to make a decision. Are you going to rip that out? Or start it over, because I won't wear it the way it is, like that sweater I'm working on. I don't like the way it looks.
I have to say that the sweater, the Dale of Norway sweater, kind of put me in a knitting funk, because I felt like I was hopeless in knitting. I thought I wasn't seeing success, and so it was discouraging.
And I think that is oftentimes what happens with newer knitters too. If they don't have someone to help fix a mistake, they can't keep going.
No.
And they start over, and they can't not make a mistake. Right, and so then they don't become knitters, because there's no...
On the mojo back is I was starting to watch knitting podcasts. Before that I wasn't, but then it got me back excited about the craft of knitting rather than being discouraged. And the sweater is going to be my first steeking project for the armhole. So I'm excited about that too.
That'll be cool.
I'll put it on. Believe me, when it's finished,
it'll be on Instagram, and it'll be on Matt. You'll be having him in the backyard doing or up on the mountain when he's skiing. It'll make a great picture. It's going to be really cool. You'll be glad you started over and got it done for him. That's because there's nothing like a Norwegian ski sweater.
There isn't, especially when he has a couple that he purchased and he uses them, and it's just his style. So I'm happy. He'll say my mom did it.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
All right, we're going to sign off for today. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks to Mary. Bye. Okay, I'm back. For the rest of the podcast today, I am going to share all of the comments that you made on my previous podcast where I ask you, what is the knitting project that you have knit more than once, multiple times? And I got tons of replies. I think there were about 20 or more of you that replied, and some of you have several things that you've knit more than once. So I'm going to just share them quickly for the second half of this podcast. I will be trying to put up a picture from the pattern page on the screen, and I'm just going to list them off, give you a little bit of information, and I'll go through them quite quickly. So the first one was shared by Wendy Morris, and she had 2 different patterns: 5-hour baby sweater by Beverly Leetsma and the 7-hour toddler sweater by Suzetta Williams. So Beverly Leetsma's sweater is worsted. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. It was published in the Make Your Own Zone little booklet, and it's 4 stitches to the inch, and the size available is 6 months. The 7-hour toddler sweater by Suzetta Williams came out in March of 2010. It is also a free pattern, and it is made with Red Heart Super Saver, Aran weight yarn, 4 stitches to the inch, and it's just kind of got a whole bobble little neck. Very cute. So thanks for sharing those, Wendy. Number 2 is the Bankhead hat, shared by Kitty Pittman. This one was so popular. Dan Jones of the Bakery Bears podcast knit this a few times. The pattern came out in May of 2012. This is a free pattern. It's for worsted weight yarn. It has quite a long rib, and then it just has some textured stitches that kind of make it look like ribbing, but it's not. This is by Susie Gorley, super popular pattern, and it's a free Ravelry download. So that's what I'm noticing, is that a lot of the patterns that people knit over and over again are free patterns that they probably own. They didn't have to go out and buy another one, and so they just continued to knit. This is shared by Alicia B, and Alicia shared the Maya top. It came out in July of 2008, is a free pattern, and it's a tank top for a woman. It's knit in DK weight yarn, 21 stitches and 32 rows on a US 4. It's written in English and Finnish, and it was knit in Southwest Trading Company Vicky Howell craft yarn. So it's got cables down the front of the tank, from kind of almost where the straps fall all the way down the front and the back of the tank. It's very cute. Then Rachel S. shared the Confundo shawl by Barbara Benson, who I just had met at Yarn Over, just a couple weekends ago. And this is by Tumped Duck. That's her username on Instagram and Ravelry. And it is a DK weight wool that she used that came out in October of 2018. It's available for $7, and it is available on Knit Companion. And some of you asked me about Knit Companion patterns. I only have a couple of patterns on Knit Companion so far where they've already preloaded all the information in, but this is a really pretty, interesting shawl. It's stripes, mosaic knitting in between some of the stripes. It's knit sideways with textured stitches, and it's a triangle shape, but to me it really looks like it's a triangle crescent, like it's very long on the ends. 22 inches by 55 inches. It's a large shawl. It's really quite pretty. And she says it's designed to work with Miss Babs Yowza mini trios. So mini skeins, 3 mini skeins. So Ruth Ann Dingwell shared Tracy Miller's Unwind shawl. This came out in May of 2020. It's a $7 pattern. This top-down triangle shawl was designed to help you unwind from life's crazy days. It is relaxing and uncomplicated pattern, repeating, soothing, and simple textures. Add your own personality through colors and types of yarn. Mohair, anyone? So it's a fingering weight shawl. It takes about 660 to 700 yards, so 2 skeins. Different colored skeins are shown in her design. It's one size, so it is about 70 inches wide and 30 inches deep. It looks to be kind of a triangle shape, and again with the really long ends on it. So almost a crescent, but pointed at the, well, of course, if it's triangle, it's pointed. If it's crescent, it's not, Corey. Dumb. This is the Tan and Tipsy top by Knitting Tipsy, and this was shared by Patricia Basket, who was a test knitter for me. So thanks for sharing, Patricia. This is a worsted weight cropped top, worked flat. It has a V-neck. It is seamed. It is an $8 pattern that came out in May of 2019. And the woman is standing on a beach. So she's got on shorts and this kind of crop top. I'm assuming you could make the top longer. It's very pretty. It has a lace stitch pattern and it's striped. So it has like an option for tiny little sleeves or for big sleeves. So I'm hoping that I remember to put a couple pictures in here, but it's really nicely sized from a small to a 5XL and looks like it would knit up really quickly. Worsted weight. She used bamboo yarn, which would make sense, right? For a kind of sleeveless top that is like made for the beach. Florida life and sparkling sandy beaches, champagne bubbles, and glittering seashells. I made this top to wear over bathing suit, beach combing, or as a sexy, flowy, summery top for vacation. So that's perfect what it's for. Several people have knit the flax sweater by Tin Can Knits. So I got the same recommendation from Diane Massey and Laura Carney. And this is a free pattern. It is a long sleeved crew neck top sweater knit in worsted weight yarn, and then it has garter stitch down the sleeves. There's also a flax hat, and it came out in October of 2013. It's a very popular pattern. It has 27,000 projects, so lots of people will have known it. They used Sweet Georgia yarn, superwash worsted, Brooklyn tweed shelter, La Bien-Aimée merino Aran, lots of options for yarn here, and it is free. And it goes from baby all the way up to men's large or extra large. So Tin Can Knits patterns are always really well sized. And I think if you're a new knitter, that's probably a really popular one to start with, is just the flat. This next one is shared by Judith Mullen, and this is the Friend to Friend shawl or capelet. Yeah. It just says Friend to Friend. It's by Leslie Friend. Came out in April of 2023. So it's a bulky weight, 10 stitches to 4 inches. It only takes a couple of skeins, 211 yards to 441 yards. It is a $4 pattern. Friend to Friend is worked bottom up in the round. Decreases help shape to fit the shoulders and neck. A purl column on each side gives the illusion of a seam. A recommended yarn that will hold its shape. Lion brand acrylic and wool works beautifully. There is a couple of podcasters have made this in multiple, who was it? The ladies out on the East Coast. The 3 of them, one moved to Boston or moved to Scotland. Oh, come on, Corey. You just watched them. Anyway, you guys will all be shouting it at me. And they've knit several of these. It's kind of like a fall pullover, like pull on over your top and go out the door. It's really cute. And I think it would knit really fast. I might need to go on that might have been a good one to have before my surgery where I could just pull it on over. Someone told me that I should wear a poncho. Several people shared the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry. I got this from Tracy Schaefer-Katchel and Stitch and Amy. Very popular pattern. There are 12,000 projects out there. Looks like, yeah. It's a $7 pattern. The cowl is a perfect all-the-time accessory and the answer for all those knitters out there who love to knit shawls but have a hard time styling them. So it is sport weight yarn, and she used spin cycle, so it is a pricey little cowl to make. I have one, and you can just stripe your colors, and so it's pretty fun. It's 600 yards of sport weight yarn. Then Carol Lee shared the Gramps cardigan, and I have knit this as well for baby several times. This is a $7 pattern by Kate Oates. It is 19 stitches to 4 inches. This pattern does go all the way up to adults with a 52-inch chest, so not only is it just for baby, but it goes all the way up. It came out in March of 2011, and there are 1,300 projects out there, so lots of people have knit it. And it has like textured cable stitches in it on the arms and the body. It's a very, very cute sweater, especially for a little boy, if you're gonna be sexist. And Ann Templin shared 2 different patterns with me. Thanks, Ann. This is the Cardamine little sweater by Pauline Walter. It's in DK weight yarn, and it came out in March of 2022. And there are kits in an Etsy shop called Blue Lichen, if they're still available. $4.50 European, so 501. And the pattern is given for the 14 sizes. Wow, that's amazing, 14 sizes. It's written in English and French, and it just is like a yoked sweater with little flowers around the edges of the yoke, and then you can put pockets on and put flowers coming up out of the pockets. It's really, really quite cute. And then this one's in my queue, and I have never made it, but this is the Braided Hearts beanie. I probably saw Anne knitting it on Instagram or something, I don't know. It's by Jill DeMarco, and it came out in February of 2021. It's a super bulky. It's $6.25 on Ravelry. This knitted hat pattern works up quick and is written for an advanced beginner. Super bulky and bulky weight yarns, includes 5 sizes. It's worked from the brim up and, you know, knit in the round. It's just the stitch pattern is really pretty. Yeah, I do like this one. I should add my name to this list, the ranunculus, because Jerry Whalen and Jesse's mom won, and May Jo all shared the ranunculus, which I've also knit and talked about at length. But it is a $5.50 euro, $6.12 American. It's by Midori Hirosa. 14 stitches and 20 rows, although all the ones I knit were at a smaller gauge and I knit a bigger size. It is, languages are English, French, Japanese, and Spanish. Super popular, and tons of video tutorials. And 2 different podcasters did a Cowl, and they talked you through the whole sweater, beginning to end, and did step by step. So if you want to go to YouTube and Google who did podcast reviews of this pattern and knit it and talk through the whole process, you could definitely find that out there. Okay, Sally G shared 2 different patterns with me too. The Point Edwards mitt, which are a mitt that is a ribbed cuff and then ribbed at the fingertips, but then it folds up so that you can cover your fingers. It is a free pattern. It is knit by Fairlight, or was designed by Fairlight Fibers in DK weight yarn. And there's like sweaters for your hands. These cuffed mitts can be worn either as fingerless mitts or with the cuffs unrolled to cover cold fingertips. And so if you're looking for just a free, easy to knit mitt pattern, maybe for gifts, that would be a great one. And then she shared the Close to You shawl by Justina Lorkowska. And this came out in June of 2016. It is also a free pattern Ravelry download. Simple but stylish shawl is knitted from one end with gradual increases to form a triangular shawl, which is fun to knit and easy to wear. Yeah, so it's quite long. It has some lace in it, and it's a free one. It just is designed to use just one skein of fingering. So about 418 yards is what it calls for. And then Lori W shared 3 different patterns that she's knit multiple times. The Mindless Cowl by Anne McClure, which is a free pattern, and it's just a ribbed cowl. It's just a ribbed cowl, and you can fold it over and wear it almost like a turtleneck, or you can roll it up and kind of cover your face and nose. So it'd be a really good gift for people that are in cold weather climates. So it's for Aran weight yarn, and it's knit on a US 9. So you could also use a heavy worsted, I would believe. And then she also shared the Row by Row Sampler Cowl, and this is by Irene Designs of the 3-Ply podcast. And Irene often watches, so Irene, someone pimped out your pattern a little bit here. It came out in January of 2023, and it's like a sampler cowl, but it comes down onto your shoulders, so it definitely has some increases in it because it's top down in the round, and then you just must increase to get it to lay that nicely around the bottom of your neck. It's really pretty. Yeah, I should put that in my... She did a row by row sampler sock pattern, and it's quick to knit up and holds and there's interest. It is styled in here under a jean jacket and looks really pretty. Nice job, Irene. And then P.A. Crosset shared the Potpourri bag by Arie Carlos. It is really interesting. It's from Arie Carlos Knit and Crochet Garden, or the Top 6337 Arie Carlos. It is a sachet knit in sport weight. It is color work. It only takes 55 yards, so it's quite small, just knit in the round, and it has a chart for the color work. And so she's knit several of those. Darn Yarner shared the Siemens hat, but I looked it up and I think it's the Siemens cap. I hope I got the right one. It's by Brenda Zook, and it is a free pattern, came out in 1999, and it's a ribbed beanie, and it is small, medium, and large, sizes 19, 20, 20, 21, 23, 24, worsted weight, and there are 4,000 projects. That's why I thought it was probably the right one. If it's not the right one, I'm sorry, darn yarner. But there were a lot of Siemens things, and it was the first one, so I kind of hoped, since it was a free pattern, that that was the one. Then Kelly Kaylee, who is also a test knitter for me, suggested the Felix Pullover, and I have knit the Felix Pullover. It is an Aran weight, top down, in the round, written pattern by Amy Christophers. It's not Christophers, it's Christophers. It's a $7 pattern. It's a cropped top-down raglan with an eyelet motif incorporated into the raglan increases. Designed to be the perfect sweater to wear layered over tunics and dresses, though I still find it is well suited to high-waisted pants. Now, this is the one that I made real long, like a tunic, and then it didn't suit me, so then I had to rip it out and make it shorter, which made it much better. So this has been a very popular pattern too. It has almost 5,000 projects out there. Someone has knit my fiber print shawl a number of times. Who was that? That was, oops, over here. 3 people. I was like, what? So, or maybe they would like to knit more than once. This is Judith Muscroft, Linda Gesling, and Kat Gore. All suggested my fiber print shawl, which is one of my most popular patterns. It was a $7 pattern that came out in January of 2019. I knit it with Suburban Stitcher yarn. It's 18 stitches, DK weight. It's just a long, 2 skeins. It's a long crescent shawl with some sampler textured stitches in it. I designed this for the Carolina Fiber Fest. It won a little bit of a contest, and that was a fiber festival, so I called it the Fiber Friends shawl. And then it came out free for people going to the festival online in March of that year, if I remember correctly, and then it was free for a while on their blog during that time, and then the pattern rights reverted to me. So it is now a $7 pattern and about 78 projects on Ravelry. So not in comparison to some of those 5,000 and 10,000 projects. Jane Flannery, hi Jane. She recommended the Musselboro hat, and it is pronounced Musselboro, but it is spelled Musselburgh, Berg at the end, B-U-R-G-H, and it's really hard to find if you spell it wrong. So I'm just giving everyone's heads up on that. This is by Ysolda Teague. It's a $7.64 pattern. This is knit for a ton of sizes, right? Like you can cast on and increase to a certain hat size, and this is that double knit one that I have right back there. And that folds over, so you do a provisional cast on, you knit one direction, then you knit the other way, and you stuff it up inside itself. Very popular pattern. You can do it for any gauge yarn, but I've only knit them in fingering weight, and then I knit my kind of fancy one in the Mayak yarns, which is almost like a lace weight, but fluffy, really, really soft, very pretty. And then Jane's second recommendation was socks. And so I kept all the other socks till the end because I thought it might be kind of fun to lump them together. So Jane has knit my Up North cabin socks multiple times. And this is a worsted weight sock. And this was part of Down Syndrome International's sock cowl that Lisa Ross used to run in February every year. And there was a pattern every day for 2 weeks. And so this was a $7 pattern. And I think I raised like the most amount of money, and I was the only one that did a worsted weight version. Mine was the very last pattern to come out. I think everyone else did fingering, and it's got that fancy kind of textured stitch pattern. Not fancy, it's got a textured stitch pattern in it, and there's a coordinating hat, cowl, and mitten set that goes with that. Yeah, it has 66 projects out on Ravelry. And then the rest of the socks that I have over here, the zigzagular socks, which I have knit, and these came out quite a while ago, but this was shared by Gracie Ayers. They're really fun socks. It's a fingering weight pattern by Susie White, who is one of the Prairie Girls. If you listen to the Prairie Girls podcast, I miss those girls. 5,000 projects out there, free pattern. It's for a size 7, 8, and 9-inch foot. It's a solution to the variegated yarn conundrum, the one where a gorgeous skein of yarn refuses to knit well in a pattern, but the thought of yet another totally stockinette sock is too monotonous to bear. With just enough pattern to maintain interest, so it's got this wavy line up the foot and plenty of plain knitting to showcase the yarn. Zagular socks are one viable solution. Yeah, I've knit those. It's really a fun pattern. So I would recommend that as well. And then someone recommended 3 different socks that she's knit. Helen Berry has knit the Hermione's Everyday Socks, which I have knit. This came out in July of 2009. It's a free pattern. It's knit for fingering weight yarn. It was very, very popular. It's kind of like a waffle stitch, maybe. I'm not sure what you would actually call it. It's available in French, Swedish, Italian, Danish, German. Like it was a very popular pattern. There are 39,000 projects out on Ravelry. I think Erica probably wished that she'd have sold that one for $1, right? Can you imagine? Yeah. Those socks, those free patterns that blow up. I'm sure sometimes the designers are just like, what was I thinking? I wish that it would be, they blow up because they're free, right? They just, garner a bunch of interest. But yeah, it's a very fun textured sock pattern. And Hermione was part of the Harry Potter book series. She's a smart, practical heroine. And so they're named for her. And then she knit the Rye Socks by Tin Can Knits. And this is also a free download, and it's a worsted weight sock, and it's just textured stitches, definitely up the front. So they kind of look like the flax sweater that goes down the side. It's that garter stitch panel that comes up the front of the socks. Worsted weight, 22 stitches by Tin Can Knit. So tons of sizes, multiple baby, toddler, child, adult, small, medium, and large, all the way up. And this is the Restfeber sock by Knitting Expat Designs, Mina. And these are knit for fingering weight, $5.09 pattern. I had to translate that. January 2018, the word Restfeber is a Swedish in origin and represents the restless race of the traveler's heart before the journey begins, which I felt was rather fitting for the first pattern kicking off the Wanderlust Sock Club. Fun yet simple pattern to work and is a great introduction to pattern sock knitting if all you have done in the past is plain vanilla. Yeah, and there are 379 projects of the Restfeber socks. I have one pattern left over here. I have no name on it. So when I go back into the computer, I'll have to look through all the comments and figure out who recommended the DRK Everyday Socks. I'm not going to go look now because it'll take me forever to scroll through those comments. But this is by Andrea Mowry. It's a $7 knitting pattern, and it's a ribbed sock, fingering weight, written for sizes 1 through 11, which is baby to men's large. And these are the socks I can cast on again and again. Simple enough for an adventure first-time knitter and available in 11 sizes. So yeah, I can see why that would be something that you would knit over and over again. Okay. I should mention the fact that I got my hair all cut off this morning because of my surgery. So I went really super short because I will not be able to get a haircut for who knows how long. I would assume, in a month I might feel like I can, but I won't be able to drive for a while, several weeks. And so I just didn't want to have to schedule a haircut for Ross to have to take me. And so I just thought, you know what, it can just get longer and longer for maybe 6 weeks and then I'll go in and get it cut. So we chopped it all off. I'm still turning gray. It's not as gray as I'd hoped. I would really like it to be more gray and less salt and pepper, more like this. But this is the stuff that he put on this summer that's still just staying kind of light. Anyway, so I will have a different haircut than when Mary was here earlier, and that might seem very strange. And then I have started collecting some prizes for the Mama Kristen Knit Along. So please go over and join us in the Ravelry group and knit that vest. It's a feather and fan vest. It would be great as a gift for someone. There's no sleeves. You could make it for a friend or your mother or a young girl. It's so cute. I have people doing it in multiple sizes. If I had more time before my surgery, things have been a little crazy around here. I would have taken pictures of all their colorways and shown you all. I wish I could have done that. I guess I could ask them to each send me a picture of their colorway of their shawl and how far along they are, or their shell. Maybe I'll do that. If they get them to me, I'll put them in. But I've started collecting prizes. So Stephen B is going to send me a prize. And then I have 3 skeins of this beautiful Cascade Cantata yarn. It's just lovely. It's a blown yarn. It's cotton and merino wool. So it's heavy, but it's lightweight. And each skein has, oh, come on, don't tear the thing. 218 yards to 100 grams. So you're getting just, over 600 yards of this. It would make a lovely shawl, make a bunch of hats, a cowl and hat combo, a cowl hat mitten combo. Yeah, it's very pretty. I will be sharing a project or 2 made out of this yarn in upcoming podcasts. I have 2 audiobooks to share this week. One I really enjoyed. It was called Pineapple Street, and it was by Jenny Jackson. And I'll just read a little bit of the synopsis. Darlie, the eldest daughter in the well-connected, old money Stockton family, followed her heart, trading her job and her inheritance for motherhood, but giving up far too much in the process. Sasha, a middle-class New England girl, has married into the Brooklyn Heights family and finds herself cast as the Ariviste outsider. Ariviste? I don't know what that means. I gotta look it up. Just a minute. This is what it means. An ambitious or ruthlessly self-seeking person, especially one who has recently acquired wealth or social status, and that is exactly what happened to her. And Georgiana, the baby of the family who has fallen in love with someone she can't have and must decide what kind of person she wants to be. I really enjoyed this. It was all about the wealthy, the rich, the connections they have. This family has tons of money, but they all are struggling with the amount of money that they have and how they came into this wealth, and it was just inherited. And so the kids struggle with that. It was very good. So highly recommend. And then the second book I read is The Lie Maker by Linwood Barclay. I went back to Linwood Barclay again. Here's a little bit of the synopsis. Your dad's not a good person. Your dad killed people, son. These are some of the last words Jack Given's father spoke to him before he was whisked away by witness protection, leaving Jack and his mother to pick up the shattered pieces of their lives as best they could. In this twisty, fast-paced thriller from the New York Times best-selling author, a man desperately tries to track down his father who was taken into witness protection years ago before his enemies can get to him. So yeah, I really am enjoying this Linwood Barclay. He's just got some I read 3 of his previously, and this one came up in my Libby, and I thought, yeah, I'll listen to that right away. Don't forget to ask questions in the questions thread. I did draw for that winner a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, and I did get the prize to Janet of Woolstock, and I'm still waiting to hear back from Jerry Whalen from the last podcast. So Jerry, if you see this, you win a prize, and I would like to get that out in the mail to you. Other than that, I think that's about all I have. I'm not teaching, so I don't have any updates there, and I'm not knitting. I had all of my patterns come out, and it was very, very stressful and very exciting. So a week ago on Monday, I had the Pretty Boxes sweater come out. It was very well received. It was in the #1 spot on Ravelry for a number of days. People have really warmed to it. I'm just so thrilled about that. And then on Tuesday, I had all 4 of the hat patterns come out: the best bobber, worsted and bulky, and the boxed buttons. And the boxed buttons hat in the worsted and the bulky, and then that is also an ebook, so you can get all 4 of those hat patterns: best bobber, worsted, bulky, boxed buttons, worsted, bulky, all in an ebook on Ravelry for a cheaper price. So you get all 4 of them for much cheaper. And there's a coupon code, so you can go over and look for that in the ebook section of the Ravelry group. And then on Wednesday came out my Pinky Swear Mitts, and Miss Babs yarns were very pleasantly surprised because they also hit the #1 spot, and they have stayed on the front page for a while. So that's really good. When you knit a design for a company and then your design does well, you're just so thankful because you don't want it to flop. You want them to get at least some advertising and promotion so that they will sell some yarn. So that was really, I want to thank you all for your support. And remember, it always helps if you go to Ravelry anytime and click on the pattern, cue the pattern, favorite the pattern, open the pattern. Any clicks you make on the pattern help me to keep it up in people's queues and on the front page of Ravelry. It's like voting for popularity. And so if you are interested in helping someone out, if you just go touch on their patterns, it's really a nice thing that you can do for someone. Or comment on them, that helps. Just about anything will help. Okay, until next time, bye. Come in for your hug. I love you all. Keep your fork, keep it colorful, buy the gravy. You'll never regret ripping back. Don't complain with your mouth full. Grace costs you nothing. Waddle on. Bye, everybody. See you next time. Jerry Whalen from the last podcast. So, Jerry, if you see this, you win a prize, and I would like to get that out in the mail to you. Other than that, I think that's about all I have. I'm not teaching, so I don't have any updates there, and I'm not knitting. I had all of my patterns come out, and it was very, very stressful and very exciting. So a week ago on Monday, I had the Pretty Boxes sweater come out. It was very well received. It was in the #1 spot on Ravelry for a number of days. People have really warmed to it. I'm just so thrilled about that. And then on Tuesday, I had all 4 of the hat patterns come out: the best bobber, worsted and bulky, and the boxed buttons hat in the worsted and the bulky, and then that is also an ebook, so you can get all 4 of those hat patterns: best bobber, worsted, bulky, boxed buttons, worsted, bulky, all in an ebook on Ravelry for a cheaper price. So you get all 4 of them for much cheaper. And there's a coupon code, so you can go over and look for that in the ebook section of the Ravelry. And then on Wednesday came out my Pinky Swear mitts, and Miss Babs yarns were very pleasantly surprised because they also hit the #1 spot, and they have stayed on the front page for a while. So that's really good. When you knit a design for a company and then your design does well, you're just so thankful because you don't want it to flop. You want them to get at least some advertising and promotion so that they will sell some yarn. So that was really, I want to thank you all for your support. And remember, it always helps if you go to Ravelry anytime and click on the pattern, cue the pattern, favorite the pattern, open the pattern. Any clicks you make on the pattern help me to keep it up in people's queues and on the front page of Ravelry. It's like voting for popularity. And so if you are interested in helping someone out, if you just go touch on their patterns, it's really a nice thing that you can do for someone. Or comment on them, that helps. Just about anything will help. Okay, until next time, bye. Come in for your hug. I love you all. Keep your fork, keep it colorful, buy the gravy. You'll never regret ripping back. Don't complain with your mouth full. Grace costs you nothing. Waddle on. Bye, everybody. See you next time.